kind of hoping that my phone was going to die before, because the thought of holding two things in my hands, and you would see my hand shakes a lot when I talk. I'm not like mega nervous. I'm nervous, but I'm not mega nervous, but my hand's just like So if you see it, mind your damn business. Evening, everyone. I'm bringing the energy. If you've not already figured it out, I am hailing from Manchester. I do not sound like one of yous. So, in fact, we say words like yous as well. There you go, one for you to take home. Okay. So, a lot of smiley faces in the audience, that's nice. So, before we begin, what I would like to do is something that everybody in PPC absolutely loves. Audience participation! So, by a quick show of hands, please put your hand up in the air, nice and high so we can see it, if you have ever experienced imposter syndrome in the workplace. I think that's all. Rob? Yeah, show your hand up? Yeah, okay. Excellent. Well, not excellent, obviously, it's a bit shit, but yeah. And if you can also, by a quick show of hands, just put your hands up if, when you have experienced imposter syndrome, it stopped you from taking action of some sort. So pop your hands up in the air, hold them high, people look around. Right? There's quite a few of you. I actually think the number's higher, but I'm going to just go with it. Can anybody hazard a guess as to what this number might be?
75.
Excellent, but no, it's not 75. Does that better question? Great answer, rubbish question. Better question, can anybody tell me what they think this number might represent?
Women.
Not quite, it's actually a little bit higher. So this number is the percentage of the workforce as of 2024 that has experienced imposter syndrome in the workplace. You are not alone. When I was writing this talk, I went straight into saying exactly what imposter syndrome was, why it's so bad, and proceeded to reel off a list of maybe 5-6 things of the things you can do to overcome it. I ran through a couple of practice talks with my coach, and I ended up in tears. Lots of them. See, what I didn't realise until writing this talk is just how badly I still suffer with it. And honestly, it's debilitating. It can be debilitating. Actually, Annie doesn't know this, but Annie almost backed out tonight. I'm glad I didn't, but I did almost. And honestly, you know, that's the same for so many people in the workplace, finding themselves in a situation that they don't feel equipped for, they're telling themselves that they are not good enough for. So I can't honestly, in good faith, stand here and talk to you about how to overcome it. What there is in PPC, paid media, is a shit ton of resources online about how to be better at our jobs. Technical resources in their hordes, you know, top 10 tips, hacks, tricks, buy this course, buy this ebook, spend $10 and never have to learn again. But what there isn't is any resources really in abundance about what to do in those moments when we feel fearful, when we feel like we're not good enough. And honestly, that is scary, given the stat that I've just shared. So, where do we go from here? Well, I'm just going to pick the mood up a little bit now, everyone. I'm Charley. I'm a PPC consultant and founder of the PPC Academy community in Manchester. You know, totally Earth Northerner. I like to say so myself. And to be honest, I've got a backstory that's that colourful, it makes the rainbow look a bit grey. If you want to know more on that later, ask me. I actually thought it was really hilarious. I don't work in paid social, I actually stick to the OG PPC, but I thought it'd be really funny if I just mocked up a paid social ad and put a poem about myself on there. But we're going to skip over that before you can read it. So let's dive right in. So as an example, all of the changes to do with attribution in the last 12 months or so, does anybody really have all of the answers? No, they don't. Yes, you know it. And do you know what? If they say they do, they're full of shit, they're liars, and it's an immediate red flag from me. We have an industry that's changing faster than ever before, but what we also have is a community of PPC practitioners that worry if they admit to not being able to keep up, people may think they're not cut out for this work. They're shit at their jobs. They don't belong in this community. Or my favourite, they should hide and hang their heads in shirt room. But I'll be honest, let's go back to the beginning. What is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is described as a feeling of not feeling good enough, doubting your abilities, when actually your performance may be adequate and likely above average. The thing that I found really interesting about imposter syndrome is the likelihood of it impacting you compounds if you identify with any of the things on the left-hand side. So I'm guessing there's probably a few elder children, only children, minorities in the audience, and honestly, when it starts to add up, it compounds even more. You're more likely to experience imposter syndrome during periods of change or transition when we're just knocked out of our comfort zones. And they can look like having to compete for a seat at the table. I know certainly that's when it tends to hit in for me. Having big shoes to suddenly fill, so that might be a promotion, it might be you've gone for a new job, it might be somebody just asked to help on something and then all of a sudden you don't have the answers. Or having to be out on your own. Perfect example, freelancers. Now, the reason why imposter syndrome is so toxic is because if you experience imposter syndrome, you are much more likely to experience things like burnout, or negative performance at work, or overall see a negative impact on your career success trajectory. Sounds a bit shit, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is, rather than bore you to death with all of these tips and tricks, I'm going to share experiences that personally, for me, are obviously very close to my heart, and also, you know, to help people relate, connect, inspire you to think that actually, do you know what? You can be successful and still think you're really shit at your job most of the time. So I'll take it back. The first part of my early career, I was in sales for about a decade before I ended up in digital marketing recruitment. Don't look like the recruitment type, I hear you say, because I don't look like a wanker. But no, I actually have lots of love for recruiters. I am very much passionate about keeping that relationship really positive. The strangest thing started to happen. I was listening to clients and candidates and I was like, oh my God, I think I can do your job. All you do is dick around in Excel and look at pictures and talk. And ultimately, through the personal connections and network that I built in recruitment and the candidate network that I had, I managed to get in marketing. But 3 months into my first PPC role, the CTO took me into the kitchen. I can remember it as clear as day. It had a nice wooden floor, it creaked almost every step that he took. And he sat me down and he uttered some words to me that honestly haunted me for the next 5 years. And he said, Charlie, you're not good enough. You're sacked. And he whispered that last bit. It almost felt like he was shouting in my face. But 3 months into my first PPC job, and he told me he didn't think that I would be good enough ever. If that wasn't something to boot off imposter syndrome for the rest of my career, I don't know what was. You see, at that moment in time, imposter syndrome kicked in hard. It kicked in so hard. And I went and cried in my car, drove home to see my mum, and to be honest, when I was writing this talk, this quote actually kept coming up. for different reasons. And it's obviously one that most people have heard of, Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. But what I do think is missing from this quote is actually sometimes what we need in those moments when we feel like we're not good enough is actually our support network of 1 to 3 people around us that remind us who the fuck we are. For me, that moment, it was my mum. I am not ashamed to say. She said, "Charley," I'm not going to do the accent because it's really embarrassing. You can imagine, "Charley, you're a problem solver. But problem solvers don't exist without problems." Claire, you're so wise. You're so wise. I would never tell her that to her face. So tip 1, expect problems. We are in the industry of problem solving. It's why we're so good at our jobs. We constantly get moving out of our comfort zones and deal with the unexpected. It's why we are so good, and it's why we're here in performance media. With every problem that we deal with, also expect that there's going to be very specific nuances that you're never going to have experienced before. So, hey, do you know what? If you deal with a problem, you're like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. That's normal. That's normal. It means you're probably in the right job. So, the second time where imposter syndrome really, really hit me hard was when I returned to work after having my little boy, Roman. I set up a freelancing business because that flexibility just worked around my newly formed family. But I just couldn't escape this nagging feeling that everyone was going to be like, "She can't do it anymore. She can't do it anymore. She's had 11 months out. She can't do it anymore. No, too much changed." And honestly, the constant feeling going around in my head of, they're going to find out I'm a fraud. And what's worse, they're going to tell everyone. And once again, my career faced a career-ending moment in my head anyway. Now, I did explain to my partner that I was feeling these feelings, and he was like, "Charley, why do people like working with you?" I'm so glad you asked, Michael. Let me tell you. But in all seriousness, that was 2022 when I set up my business. And as you all know, we are flying through 2024 at the speed of light. Terrifying. And I've just celebrated 2 years running my business. So what did I do to overcome or deal with that crippling doubt that really actually almost stopped me from setting up my business in the first place? I got to know myself, as cringy as it sounds. No matter what job I've ever done, whether it's been stuffing envelopes, door knocking or PPC, I know I have immense pride in my work. And honestly, I care deeply about doing a very good job. Going above and beyond is in my DNA, like that's just who I am. So actually sometimes we do actually just have to stop and think about what makes us good at our jobs. What is on our brilliant list? So tip number 2, remember, why do people generally like working with you? Do you go above and beyond? Do you care about the work that you do? Have you got a good work ethic? Do you support your peers? Do you care about the clients that you work with? Are you generally a nice person? Do you always aim to do your best and improve? And honestly, just thinking about some of the things that make you brilliant is possibly one of the best things that you can do to counteract imposter syndrome. A good friend of mine actually told me that anxiety and gratitude, they can never coexist because it's the same part of the brain that actually produces both of those emotions. So when you're feeling grateful and you're feeling amazing about yourself and thinking about all the things that make you brilliant, it's actually impossible to be anxious at the same time. Although I did argue that it probably was possible. Remember why people like working with you. What is on your brilliant list? Imposter syndrome, strike 3. This is a very real and current experience for me, and I'll be honest, I debated whether or not sharing this was the right thing to do. but I'm just going to go with it. Imposter Syndrome, strike 3. Performance, Manchester. Ben knows. Performance Manchester, it is a paid media and performance marketing conference that is coming to Manchester next year in May/June. Not quite nailed it down yet. No tickets are not available yet. But listen, it is something that I feel has been completely abandoned in the market, and it's something that I feel so passionate about, and I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a really good idea. But the problem is every twist and turn, I have been met with imposter syndrome thoughts slap bang in the face. What if no one comes? What if everybody hates it? What if nobody sponsors? What if people actually think it's a really shit idea? I'm hoping that no one in the audience is thinking that no, so they all smile and wave. But I'll be honest, guys, I am hoping that by now, the thread of this talk, you know what happens next. She went ahead and did it anyway. So planning is well underway, and I'll be honest, one of the big reasons that it is because I discovered something called the liking gap. Has anyone ever heard of the liking gap before? No? Brilliant. Every day to school day, guys. The liking gap is the name of the study of how often we as humans underestimate how much people like us. It is about 30% of the time we assume people don't like us. So that's like looking around now and assuming that every third person sitting across from you hates you. For no reason at all. No context. We just assume people don't like us. So sad. So tip 3, assume people like you more. We're flipping that on its head. We are assuming that people like us more often. And another fancy bit of neuroscience, has anybody heard of the helper's high? Anybody? I thought your hand was going up then. I was like, yes, my friend. Helper's high. Helper's high is the name given to how we are neurologically programmed as humans to want to help other people. It's literally insane to think that we are humans, are biologically and neurologically programmed to want to help others, yet we assume most people don't like us. Wild. Now, imagine if we assume more people like us, and we are mindful of the fact that we are neurologically programmed to want to help other people. Put those two things together, mate, and you have some magic! You have utter magic. And ultimately, we're ending up in this optimistic world where everybody's like thinking things are going to work out. We're just assuming things are going to work out for the better rather than just being terrified that they're not. And finally, I won't drone on much longer. I actually think I've dragged this out pretty well, haven't I? Yes. Is this wrap up yet? Okay, well, we're actually talking about the fact that the talk wasn't long enough. Sorry, I just tried to slow it down. So finally, this is honestly something that has stuck with me since the moment that I heard it about 3 years ago. And it's about fear. Fear is a key pillar to imposter syndrome. Does anybody know what fear is or how they would describe it? Anybody hazard a guess? I know you're all keen for some audience participation to see the keenness, better word, at the beginning. No one wanted to have a go at describing fear.
Being afraid of something.
Being afraid is an excellent description of it, yeah. I'm going to one-up you on that one. Fear is none other than false evidence appearing real. Ooh, I got a new from you. Oh, yes, thank you. That's made my night. False evidence appearing real. Fear is the lies we tell ourselves in the absence of evidence. We do it all the time. If we don't know, we get scared. We go, oh my God, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Oh my God, this is going to happen. It's not real. It's not real. False evidence appearing real. So I put it to you, lovely audience, for tonight. The next time you feel like a fraud, or you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like you're stepping into something that you just do not feel prepared for, or you feel absolutely paralysed by the feeling of imposter syndrome, ask yourself, is this false evidence actually stopping you from making impact? If it is, check your support network. Have you got one? Do you know what's on your brilliant list? I swear to God, if everyone leaves here tonight and doesn't think about this brilliant list afterwards, I'm crying again. Are we assuming the worst? Can we have a go at maybe assuming people just like us because they don't know any different? And also, is the scenario completely driven by fear? Don't be scared is obviously such an easy thing to say when you're in the moment. I was shitting my pants coming up here tonight. But bravery is not the absence of fear. It's carrying on in spite of it, right? So, guys, thank you very much. And yeah, don't overcome imposter syndrome, guys. Just crack the F on with it and take those tips and make your brilliant list.